Coming up in Centre Circle, Don Anderson talks about uniting the footballing family. 9 months of football, but Montego Bay United has no money to show for it. And we remember one of our stalwarts who passed away 12 years ago. When Don Anderson was named the chairman of the Professional Football Association of Jamaica, PFAJ, it left many puzzled. That's because Anderson was known as a pollster. But Anderson played top-grade football, senior cup cricket, hockey and squash for Jamaica. He also served as vice president of the Jamaica Olympic Association for 32 years. JFF president Captain Horace Burrell was also a member of the JOA.
I dare say a position that I was expected to move up as president of the Olympic Association. Unfortunate events took place that didn't happen. Captain then said to me, "Would you like to help us out in football?" I thought about it a long time, and I sat on the Professional Football Association body for about 6 months with Mr. Siaga as the chairman before I decided, well, I'd love to make a contribution in sport. They asked me, and I said, okay. People questioned why I was getting into football, because football is probably, it was at the time when football was very controversial. All the scandals surrounding football that we know about. You see, I operate in everything I do from a position of principle. And I said, as long as I got in there and I came out whenever I do with my principle intact, I believe that I would have been comfortable with my own self and my own skin. And there's nothing that's going to force me to compromise my principles.
But not many are aware of the role of the PFAJ, and at times gets it confused with the PLCA.
Essentially, the PFAJ has the responsibility for the running of the Red Stripe Premier League. The Premier League's Clubs Association was given the responsibility to garner sponsorships that would allow for the financial operation of the league. That's the difference between the two. Sometimes the PLCA were assumed to be the entity that was responsible for the running of the Red Stripe Premier League, but it is not so. And because we allowed precedents to run for a while, it is now difficult for people to understand the differences between the two sets of bodies.
Anderson has taken over a sport that is fighting for every dollar to make the league viable.
What I've been trying to convince my fellow board members about is the need for putting together an organized plan for football. An organized plan for football, where you want to go, how you want to get there, what you're going to do to get there, and part of it has to do with preparing a proper budget so that we can see exactly what is needed to fund football over the next 3 years, for example, what is needed to fund the youth program. It cannot be a haphazard thing, because we're in an environment where there is pressure on the dollar. Sponsors are being approached every day, and unfortunately most of the sporting bodies, I speak in sporting bodies now, tend to go to the same sponsors every time. So the financial challenges are there, but I don't think football is unique in this regard. But for sure, football has to ensure that its act is as clean as possible to be able to speak to sponsors, because sponsors want to be associated with an entity and an organization that they can be proud of.
The lack of funding also means that the idea of an under-20 league was put on ice.
I'm into marketing. I'm into ensuring that we package the thing properly and that we find a good means of communicating what is going to come out of the under-18 competition, for example. I don't think we have done that very well, and I'm saying coming out of the retreat is going to be an issue that we will tackle. We want to ensure that people understand the value of all these competitions, because the two objectives that we have in football. One is short-term, where we want to work to the World Cup, clearly. But the other one is developing the talent that we have at the under-16, under-18 level, which we're doing fairly well at the moment. But we really want to ensure that we have a proper structure in place to be able to take a marketing plan to sponsors to say, here's where we are, here's where we want to be, here's what we have to work with.
And the Youth League would have come in handy, as young players are being starved of game time at the top level.
How are you going to regenerate the national team? It can't be from finding people who you discover when they're 19 and 20 and 21. You have to start with I'm glad that Edwards in the under 17 competition is being exposed as he is, and he's, as you can see, not getting the kind of level of support that he needs, you know. But then you have to contextualize that in terms of what is happening in the country. You have to start at the youth program, and then the football body has to embrace the youth program in a very serious way in order so that people can feed and channel and grow into the national team. The league has gone, I believe, very well. We know the challenges that we have had with the league, but by and large, the league has been conducted in a very organized manner. There have been challenges just like everywhere else, but one of the things we said to ourselves is that at the end of this current year season, we have already earmarked for a review, a retreat where we're going to review exactly where we are, because I said to them, it's very easy for you to run from one year to the next and do and assess yourself. But one of the things I like to do best of all is to be actually very self-critical. So I said to the organization, we have to have a retreat at the end of this current season. Take a look at whatever has happened, what we did right, what we did wrong, before we start the next season.
The final of the league is set for May 23, but that could change if Portmore United reach the showpiece, as they are also set to play in the CFU playoff.
As soon as we get over these rounds of matches, we're going to sit down and really look at the situation very carefully and develop a plan that everybody will understand, and one clearly in which will minimize the potential for any challenges in the fixtures and make it more difficult for any one club. You mentioned Portmore, for any one club to be at a disadvantage by having to play too many matches too close. Halfway to solving a problem is to know you have the problem. And we know that there is this problem with the scheduling that has plagued the organization for some time. It is something that we have committed ourselves to address, and which is why we are meeting as an organization very shortly to look at the rest of the season and the CFU situation and make sure that the media, the clubs, the nation understands clearly when the matches are going to be played. And you're right, it is late in the day to be doing that, but we realize if we don't do that, that there is a potential greater fallout, and therefore the organization is definitely setting itself not only to set the schedule, but to get all the clubs understand what are the expectations.
Still to come, yes they are, no they are not. That's the story of Montego Bay United being part of the PLCA, and the accident that left many Jamaicans in shock 12 years ago.